And welcome to Laugh Monkey Music Tale. Today we have on Chris. Chris Barrons is on Spin Doctors and a solo performer. I've known and loved you from the Spin Doctors, but as saying recently, I've come across your solo stuff, which is really, really, really good and a little different. It's nice,
Yeah,
singer songwriter stuff.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a good outlet for you because you wrote a lot of the songs anyhow to begin with in the band.
I did. I started playing guitar when I was 8, but I didn't get serious about it until I was like 12. And I was taking lessons when I was like, with this guy when I was like 14. And he taught me like a Harry Belafonte tune and a Fleetwood Mac tune and a Simon and Garfunkel tune. And I took a chord from each tune and I was sort of playing them. And he came in and I was like, hey, I was just playing these chords like this. And I didn't know if he was going to be like pissed at me,
right?
Like, stop fucking around and just play the shit that I told you to play. And he was like, oh yeah. You take some chords you like and you just play them. And then you just go da, 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 do, do, do. And if you do that long enough, it turns into words and you write those down in a notebook with the chords. And that's how you write songs. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, that's how you write songs. And I was like, but what about the squiggly lines and the notes and stuff? And he was like, do you think Bob Dylan and John Lennon know how to read music? And I was like, of course they do. And he was like, no, that's how they write songs.
Yeah. And
I was already like deep into creative writing. I come from songwriting from a creative writing standpoint. And so, and I've been, singing since I was a kid, and I've been sort of goofing around like a little bit with the guitar. And that's when I got really kind of even more into the guitar. And, combining like singing and creative writing was like just perfect for me. And I've just like always been into Paul Simon and Bob Dylan and Bob Marley and the Beatles and all that stuff. I was already in the Who and stuff, but like Paul Simon and Bob Dylan, from a songwriting standpoint, I was just super into them, and I could always kind of like, see sort of what they were doing. If that makes any sense, I was like, I would listen to like Desolation Row, and I was like, yeah. I mean, not that I could do it or anything, but I had a sense of what they were going after, and I tried to go after it too.
Well, I was just thinking, because like I remember thinking that like you have, to me, it's like almost like you have your fun rocking voice, and but then you also you've done your solo albums. I'm into a mellow. There's the difference between the two voices. What I'm saying, like hear them. And when I heard you do the ballad on the first album, when I came across into my feed, your soul stuff came out. I was like, oh, and it was just exactly what I'd wanted more of when I was younger.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think for my most recent one is Angels and One-Armed Jugglers.
Yep.
And I'm working on a record now. That's more acoustic driven. That's the Angels and One-Armed Jugglers is very singer-songwriter, but it's like full productions, like electric guitar and keyboard, mostly piano, mostly acoustic piano and acoustic guitar. And there's like drums and bass on most things, so it's pretty full production. But it's got that, I think there's sort of,
it feels more radio oriented. Like the production would lend to radio more, to pop radio. That's they want a certain thing, along with like a lot of modern singers now. I think that would be perfect with it. And your other album, like Poncho's great. That album, it feels like, I love that about it. It feels like you're in the same room with an artist. That's why, like, not all singers can become solo songwriters. Like when the bands go away or they're not doing stuff, a lot of guitar players and singers want to do their own thing. Not all of them can pull it off.
Well, so, that's how I started out.
Well, I know. Well, that's the whole thing with you. I mean,
yeah,
it's really great. Is and I didn't know. I have a lot of stupid trivia. I didn't know for a long time was you and John Popper together.
Yeah, we went to high school. Yeah, together, and so there was we had just an amazing friendship and sort of I was in the original incarnation of Blues Traveler when it was called Blues Band, and I got thrown out because there's no band that's like big enough for both me and John. But John and I did the talent show together, and you know, of course, there's no video of that or anything because you know there wasn't the same kind of expectation of like, you know, recording everything. It wasn't as easy to record stuff. It wasn't. There wasn't the same kind of, you know, there weren't like. Nobody had like a phone back then that they could just like hold up and
there's a thing of your chemistry though. There is the scene from Z Brothers with you two.
Yeah.
I almost died when I was watching it. I was like, oh,
I haven't seen that in a really long time. Do you have a link to that? Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, it's all on YouTube. Yeah, I actually talked to Joey, and he's hilarious. And he's like, yeah, he has them all up on his page. I'll send you the link for it after.
Oh, that's funny. I would love to see
all 2 seasons uncensored too. So you're like,
yeah, I haven't seen that. Yep. I haven't seen that since. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it since we did it. Yeah. But yeah, John and I, we were in English class together, and we were both the two like sort of maverick guys who were sort of smart asses and coming at all of the stuff we're discussing from a, you know, oddball, oblique kind of angle. And I was like the bad kid kind of on the side of the class with my, you know, we had those like desks that are like a chair with the writing arm on it, you know. And like our teacher was like, yeah, you can sit anywhere you want. So I had mine like backed up to the inside wall where I could see the door. And I was, you know, just like sort of a misanthrope, you know, and John started out on the other side, and like gradually like his desk moved closer and closer to mine.
Poor teacher, man, that poor teacher having both of you. And then I wonder if you ever realized that both of you knuckleheads, you know, were all over the charts. I mean, that's kind of been like not one person in their class, but two.
Well, you know, it's you know, when you think about it, it kind of makes sense because like we talked a lot and collaborated a lot and learned a lot from each other, and like you know, for me John was like, it was incredible being in high school with the John because he was like very clearly a star, you know, and he played in the jazz band. He would come on and do like a solo in an assembly, you know, in our auditorium, and everybody would go bananas. Like they'd be actually climbing the walls, you know, and getting up on their seats and like just going crazy when he played. And the like, you know, the vice principal, who was like the disciplinarian, would come out and be like, okay, John's going to come out and he's going to play during the assembly. And if anybody like flips out, we're going to stop the assembly and you're all going to go to detention, you know. Like you'd have to say that beforehand because it happened, you know.
But John will also be playing the detention for everybody too, so it's okay. No.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool going to high school with a guy who was very clearly like a star because he sort of banged open like the idea that like, oh, you know, someone you know could be a star. Maybe you could go on and, you know, have some tunes on the radio and do some stuff. I know John and I talked about creativity a lot, and, you know, the songwriting, and he was a huge influence on me just in terms of the sheer like scope of what a person could do and be.
Yeah. Both very good bands. You guys both did pretty good too, you know.
We did okay. Yeah.
Now, wasn't that long ago? You actually, and it was kind of, I remember this when it came out. You had problems. You had some vocal issues too, right?
Yeah. I lost my voice. I had a paralyzed vocal cord. That happened to me a couple times. It happened to me twice, which is really rare and weird, and it's not supposed to happen to people more than once. Like it's a really weird, rare thing to happen even once.
Does something trigger it? Or is it something you just...
No, it's what the doctors call idiopathic. And the specialist was like, idiopathic is what we call something when, you know, that's a doctor's way of saying we have no fucking idea why it happened. So they think it's neurological. It was a paralysis of a nerve. And
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. And I actually it was both times was my right vocal cord. And the second time, It actually didn't come back all the way. So I've learned to sing with one vocal cord. The Angels and One Arm Jugglers, my most recent record, I've like basically I've learned how to, your vocal cords like sit in your throat like a V, and the point of the V is in the front of your throat. And when you sing or talk, the two ends of the V that are far apart come together and make something that's, I guess, more like an H, right? But where the insides are touching. And then they rub together, and that's how you produce sound. And so my vocal cords weren't coming together, but I learned how to use the musculature around the vocal cords on the paralyzed one to sort of brace it against the vocal cord that is still mobile. I didn't know I was doing this. Like, I just kind of was like, hey, my voice came back. My doctor was like, great. Okay, cool. We're going to scope your vocal cords. And we looked at my vocal cords. Just like, whoa, wait. The right one is still largely immobile. I was like, how is that happening? And he was like, it looks like you figured out how to sing with one vocal cord. So Angels and One Arm Jugglers is kind of.
Well, it should have been Angels and One Vocal Cord Jugglers or something, and you left joking.
Yeah, that's a bit, on the nose, but yeah.
It's great though, because I would have known that. I mean, it sounds, really good. I mean, it doesn't sound like it all.
I'm a medical miracle. My wife says I'm like the king of mind over matter. I'm really good at like just doing weird shit that shouldn't be able to do. Like making a living playing music, I suppose.
But you've been training your whole life for it, though. A lot of people didn't start as early as you,
No. My mom was like, I was 8. My mom was like, you're going to play guitar. And I was like, nah. She's like, nah, you're going to take guitar lessons. And I was like, in my head, it sounded like a pain in the ass. So I was like, what about trumpet? And she was like, you can't have a sing-along with the trumpet. And I was like, how about piano? You can have a sing-along with the piano. And she's like, yeah, but you can't take it to the beach. And I was like, how about drums? She was like, no fucking son of mine is going to be a goddamn drummer. She didn't say that, but she was like, no way.
In my house.
Too loud, And she started.
How awesome is your mom? You're like, how about a trumpet? It's usually the other way around. Musicians start off, I had to play trumpet in school. I had to play piano.
I know.
I thought I could play guitar. Your mom's like, look, I want you to play cool guitar. You're like, no,
yeah, she was like, if you learn how to play guitar, girls will love you. And I was 8, so I was like, ew. But I took guitar lessons, and I took them in a guitar shop, and we learned Try a Little Kindness by Glenn Campbell, which is really kind of cool because I'm friends with Ashley Campbell, Glenn Campbell's daughter. It's just kind of a funny full circle sort of thing that, we're in this class, and it was the first time I like thought of a song as a like a piece of material, rather than just a ubiquitous sound coming at me. And it was like my first time thinking, oh, this is a really good song. This is a song people would learn, so that they could play it. And, I was 8 years old. And then after the lesson, my dad took like 10 or 15 minutes to show up, and I was walking around the store. I'd never seen like 50 guitars in one place. And I turned around the corner, there was a guitar, a Gibson Hummingbird, which is, really cool guitar. The pick guard, the plastic thing, below the sound hole that stops your pick from tearing the wood apart, had like a hummingbird on it. It was hanging there. And I remember like looking at the hummingbird, and it was just like this kind of stunning image, full of like kinetic energy. The image had this like kinetic energy, and the idea of the potential like musical power of the guitar, and the combination of this like sort of kinetic image of this hummingbird, it just struck me, and it had this finish, this like kind of cherry red sunburst finish. And I was just struck by it as an object. And I've just been like crazy about guitars ever since. It just kind of got me. And my dad showed up and was like, can I have this guitar? And he was like, no, you already have a guitar. And
No, you still lots of guitars.
Now I own like 20 guitars.
There. Always searching for that first one though, right? So what happened? So like with Spin Doctors, you were doing a while, then you guys took a break or whatever and hiatus, and you got together for like not a reunion, but like a one-off, and you guys are playing again, and now you have a new album. And then in the meantime, you've been also doing some solo stuff in between.
Yep.
Like, is there a plan that you've been doing, or is it just kind of like you've been playing?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Spin Doctors is like, that's the three of us, Aaron, the drummer, and Eric, the guitar player, and I, we all just kind of agree, like, this is our life's work, it's the thing that we're all the most famous for. And the three of us have like a really deep 30-year relationship that means very much to all of us. We started out, most bands get together because they are friends, like college or high school friends, like our friends in Blues Traveler. And they become a band, but we became a band. We were all just kind of mercenary about the whole thing, and we all just thought the other guys were the best guys around. And so as a result, to begin with, it was very much about the music, and not very personal. And over the years, 30 years later, we're all really close friends now.
But a long time to be together as a band. It's like getting being arranged marriage and then being to your dying days together. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
you're not really planning it out, but serendipitous, and the energy of you guys are together. It just we're meant to be.
No, it's true. We had this immediate, incredible musical chemistry and writing chemistry, and then of course, our first record was a really big hit, and it's a record that sold 10 million copies, and Two Princes has been played on, it's coming up on like 100 million plays on YouTube, and 350
bananas. Those numbers are bananas, aren't they? That's crazy to think about. That.
I know, it's like 350 million streams on Spotify, or more than that. It's like, it's nuts. We had that was a really big song. Little Miss Can't Be Wrong would have been a huge song. It's as big as a lot of hits ever are, and it's our second biggest song. And like a lot of, and we went around the world together, and so we're really close, and we love playing together. We make really cool music, and so the last 10, 15 years, we go out during the summer and we do like what we call fly dates. We just like fly to different places, and it's kind of crazy. And sometimes you go from like New York to, LA to Montreal to, Birmingham in one weekend, and it's sort of batshit, but we go out and we make a living, and like we made a record. Oh God, we haven't made a record in like 9 years, but we were just kind of going on and doing our thing. There wasn't really any reason to make a record, and we were all making solo records. I made, Angels and One Armed Jugglers, and Eric made a record, Aaron made a record, and then, we're kind of working on like getting out of a couple of old contracts, and it just turned out if we delivered a record that would push things all along. And our manager was just like, hey, you guys think you can make a record? And we were like, yeah, totally, sure. So Eric and I got together. We went up to Mike Gordon's house in Vermont. Mike Gordon from Fish, the bass player. Yeah. He's got an extra house, and I was staying with him one time, and he's like, yeah, man, if you ever want to like come, and like it's got a studio in it, you ever want to come up here and do some writing or whatever. So I took him up on it, and Eric and I wrote like 3 terrific songs in 2 days. And then Aaron and I got together and we wrote a couple tunes, and the 3 of us got together, we wrote some tunes, and the material was just coming out like so easy and like fast and really good. And so, we went to the studio. I was telling you before we went on air, our bass player, our original bass player, is like a strident anti-vaxxer,
Oh,
wouldn't wear a mask, wouldn't get tested, so it just like couldn't work. And so um he's kind of an ultra MAGA guy, and it just wasn't, we weren't able to work. So we got Jack Daly, who is an old friend of all of ours. I used to live in the same building with him. Aaron, our drummers, made numerous records with him and he plays in a band with him, another band that's a big band in Germany that they're like the band for. And so, Jack's like a was sort of a natural fit, super funky guy, and one of the best bass players in the world. And so we went in to make like demos, we gave ourselves like 10 days, and we were like, what the hell? It just came out. We worked really fast and it came out really great.
that's awesome.
Yeah, we had a ball, and it's I think we finally made a record, as good or better than Pocket Full of Kryptonite. I'm not sure we've ever made a record that's like better than our first record. I think all of our records are really good, but this one is like, it's got that thing, that Spin Doctors thing, where there's a number of songs on it that are just like, what the hell? Who the hell writes a song about this? And there's some funny stuff. There's some funky stuff. There's some really hard rocking stuff. There's some like sort of more cerebral stuff. It's a highly entertaining and very musical album, and it's also really heavy. I don't think we get the credit, because we came up in this like kind of grunge moment.
Yeah.
So there were all these bands that were like just only heavy, and we're famous for songs like Two Princes and Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. But we also have songs like Refrigerator Car and Shinbone Alley, and we've got tunes that are as heavy as any of that grunge shit. And I like grunge. Sorry, I didn't mean to be like grunge shit. I didn't mean to like write it off, because I loved Kurt Cobain, and I loved Nirvana and Soundgarden, and like Chris Cornell. I just think that guy like was just the greatest singer maybe to ever like come down the pike. He's just so good. They opted for like a really dark kind of mood as their whole mood, and we always wanted to have Aaron, our drummer, put it in a really, I thought he put it really succinctly. He's like, when we were forming the band and forming our repertoire, he was like, we should play songs in different tempos with different rhythms and different like tonal landscapes and different moods. Which is to say, we should play shit that sounds different from each other, So like we have happy shit, we have angry shit, we have sad stuff, we have all the moods.
You guys came out, but you had a certain like the drummer. It's such a tight, like the drum sound. Your voice was very distinct. The guitar playing was very distinct. You know what I'm saying? In the bass, everything was produced, so it had its own swim lanes, and everything stood out on its own. And probably success also was the first album, because nobody had heard that before.
Yeah. I mean, I
can't compare that to anything before.
Those guys are the best. They're the best musicians of the 90s. I mean, Eric, Aaron, and Mark. I just think they stand up to anybody, and they, Eric and Aaron both play like bebop, and they're nuts. It's crazy how broad and solid they are as musicians. Anyway, thank you for saying that. I think those guys are great.
And I think it's really crazy, because I think one of the things, and I don't see as much nowadays, is writing a good some pop song. Because you listen to it, you break your song sound, and someone goes, "Oh, that looks so easy," but it's not. It's the hardest thing in the world to write a great, easy song.
Yeah. Well, the trick for what I do is I just write tons and tons of tunes.
Right.
And I don't really try to write anything that's anything in particular. I never sit down to try and write a pop song or.
No, but I'm saying, like the best, like a Beatles song, or like your biggest hits. They all sound like, oh yeah, but like you out of the thin air, you wouldn't have thought of that out of thin air. That's amazing. It's not a common thought, but the melody sticks with you. The lyrics, everybody goes along. It's got a thing. That's why you have.
It's funny. I mean, for me, it's a big process. It's a big workflow where I'm playing a ton of guitar, and I'm working on my singing, and I'm writing down kooky shit on envelopes, and dictating stuff into my phone, and some things kind of all come together. A song will just come together all at once. Sometimes I'll write a lyric. Sometimes I'll write a piece of music. Sometimes I'll have a lyric and a piece of music sitting around. I'll smack them together. Sometimes, I get together with Eric and I'm like, hey, I got this lyric. What do you got? And he's like, I don't got anything. We just like, I start singing something. He starts playing along with it, and, a tune comes together. Same. Aaron and I get together, and he usually has a couple of musical things, and I'll go through my computer and find like a lyric, and we'll just start like working on it, But Aaron composes Aaron, our drummer, composes, he composes about a third of the music in the band. And he comes up with these things that are like really rhythmically challenging, and they have these like really unique, odd rhythmic ideas. And I've always wondered how Robert Plant, some of the stuff, some of the Zeppelin stuff is really like weird. And I've always wondered like how he sort of coped with like the and every time I do one of those things of Aaron's, like I kind of think of that, because he has stuff that has these really odd phrases. And on this record, there's a couple of things that are in odd time signatures, and it's funny because I listen to it and I can hear that when I came up with the melody, the rhythm of the melody, like I didn't really rhythmically like understand what was happening. Like I was just sort of being like doing a phrase, and then like I know that the phrase ends when I hear the snare again, and then I like just start the next phrase, and it's like sitting down in another section where I'm just doing the phrase until I hear the snare again. And then, like it's all sort of happening. And I was saying that to Eric. I was just like, I'm just like, I know that if I just sing eighth notes, if I just go dot 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 dot, the phrase will end and I'll be okay. And we're talking about this new tune called Double Park, and it's got a thing in like 7/8. And he's like, how do you think I played the solo? It's just eighth notes. So like I waited until it ended. Just played eighth notes until it ended.
Well, what you guys all be paying attention, counting in your heads to that song, make sure you don't get lost in it.
Yeah. But like the thing, the point of that really is that's how you come up with something. Like he didn't set out to write something in 7/8. He's just got a really developed sense of rhythm. So he came up with an idea, a musical idea, and it just so happens to take place over 7/8 notes, and then it repeats again in another.
Did he write this on guitar?
Yeah, he writes. He plays piano, bass, and guitar. He can play anything. He's really.
That's what I thought. But you hear a lot. Like, I mean, Dave Grohl's the easy one, but you hear a lot of drummers that write songs. Actually, drummer from Anthrax writes too. And you start thinking about all the guys that are drummers that write songs, and you think about the rhythm in the songs that they've written. Yeah. And you're like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they play the guitar like they play the drums. Most of them said that.
There's a tune. Well, we used to play this game called You're on the Gig. And it was basically like, you're on the gig. The band leader says, okay, you need to play like, a piece. It's like 4 measures in like 9/8, and then, 2 measures in 7/8, and another 4 measures of reggae in 9/8. And then, just go on into this crazy thing. And Aaron could just do it. He would like, look up into his eyeballs and just kind of think about it for a second. And then he would just do it on the drums. It was like, that's fucking nuts. But he would do it and it would feel like a piece of music. It would feel like a fucked up, weird, like oddball piece of music. But he would do it. So, because the trick is if you're going to play stuff in like this, odd time signatures and stuff like that, you don't want to you don't want to have people counting. If I'm listening to something, I start counting, I know I'm like, immediately I'm like, like I know that the piece of music is like a failure as a piece of music because I'm counting,
Right.
But if I just hear something and it's like, a piece of music, like the Zeppelin stuff is like that. Those are musical ideas. They just happen to take place in like an odd number of beats, but it's a full musical idea. And you see guys, you listen to a lot of these old blues guys, and when you start to take apart some of these really old blues songs,
Mm-hmm.
like they're put together in these really weird ways, but it gets easier to understand when you think of it like they're just stringing ideas together. So like, if you don't have like that kind of formal training, you got like Indian music where there's tons of repertoire that are in these crazy time signatures.
Yeah.
Well, like blues is like, it's this sort of indigenous kind of music that is played, usually by self-taught artists, and like they're putting together these ideas. And I didn't really start to think of it that way until my friend Mike Messer, who's a fabulous musician. He knows a lot of Beatles tunes and a lot of like Beatles lore, and we were doing a tribute, and we did Revolution, and I called him on the phone and I was like, the guitar solo is 7 bars, and there's all these like weird, like
the timing's weird in that song too. Like it's,
pardon me?
The timing is weird on it too. Doesn't it go start on a downbeat or something? It starts, it's like just something weird at the drumming or the timing.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
And Mike was like, yeah, John, he didn't like to, if you have a formal training, you'll fill things out into phrases of 4, because that's how like the ear is trained, unless you are like a contemporary composer and you're writing, unless you are like writing these ideas that take place in a different thing. But generally, like popular music particularly is like, it'll be like 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4 3 2 3 4 4 2 3 4, and the thing is taking place in an even amount of measures, and when it comes around it goes to the next thing, but like he was like, John didn't like to do that. He wanted to move right on to the next idea. So like he would just do an idea and then the next thing would start. So you'd have like, you'd have a guitar solo that's like 7 bars instead of 8 bars. Instead of like 2 groups of 4, it's like a group of 4 and then 3, because the idea ends and he moves right on to the next thing. So, when you start thinking of it as strings of ideas, then I think you have a better chance of doing a piece of music that isn't like an intellectual exercise. But if you set out to write a piece of music that is in a particular time signature, for the sake of just doing something in an odd time signature, then it starts, then you're gonna listen to it and you're just gonna be. Oh, I started to tell you about that you're on the gig.
Yeah.
So one time I was hanging out with Aaron, and we were super high, and he was fooling around with the guitar, and I was like, okay, give me some funk in 9/8, and he just started going, we got a tune called Refrigerator Car, and the intro is da 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 da, and it's in 9. And what it was is I was like, Aaron, give me some funk in 9. And he started playing that on the guitar, and then he started singing, I am Chris and I like a filter fish. Yes, I am Chris and I like a filter fish. And we were like, oh, we got to put that in a song. We just took out the I am Chris and I like a filter fish. But I mean, it started out as I am Chris and I like a filter fish, which is to say it was like an idea.
I'll never hear that song the same now. Well, so like with the songwriting, that's great because you don't think about, like when I was young, I used to sing in bands, whatever, and just jam and go to college for recording stuff, and then the different stuff happened. But I'm 51 now, so when I was like 45, I said, you know what, I want to start playing guitar. And then music came around a lot different to me then, because when you start taking apart songs, first actually when I got the guitar, first thing I did is I got 2 guitars. I got a second one, and I took the guitar apart, because I want to see how the guitar worked. So I want to take it apart and rebuild it, because that's what you do, right? You take everything apart. Then I started taking songs apart, and like even some of the songs are like, oh, so boring. Like growing up here all the time, it's like background noise. But you actually play the chords and you learn, you're like, oh, that's smart. Like the arrangements are so sublime for a simple song. But then you start doing things like the Beatles, and you start doing certain other artists, and you're like, then you're like Zappa, like all the time signatures, just not what you think it is. And when you're singing it, you don't think so much about it. You think, well, the phrasing a little different, or if you're not a singer, how you do things, it's a little different to learn a song, chorus without verse, chorus, whatever, you know what I mean? But then you start doing these songs and it's totally different. And that's why I think your music is very fun for me, because I like that odd offbeat. Yeah. And if your soul stuff is like, you're very lyrical too. And that's the other thing, like with your lyrics, it's funny stuff, but you also have a lot of serious stuff in there too. Like you don't want to smile too much because you feel like just like something coming on the left, left smack in the face. If you're too laughing too much,
Yeah.
I know
I like writing that way. And again, like it all goes back to like, having a really strong idea. Like I a lot of times I just write lyrics. Even if I'm writing to a piece of music, I just write the lyrics. And I don't worry about fitting them in to a rhythm too much. I just make that happen. And I make the idea of the lyric supersede the like da 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 da, having it be like perfectly along the rhythm of the I was in a writing session with some guys. We wrote a really good song. It's never been recorded. And they had this melody, and I was like, we're trying to write to this melody. And I was like, can we just, like, okay, we got this melody. It's great. We can always come back to it, but can we just write a lyric and not worry about the melody? And this lyric is so beautiful. And as a result, the melody was cooler really than the original melody. Cause then we had like this, we had these words to sing. And when you're evoking, a really strong idea, particularly lyrically, you have a lot more freedom because what you're saying is so strong. It's going to strengthen anything you do with it, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. So there's two questions before we wrap this up. One is, when are we thinking the album's going to be coming out for people that are asking?
We'd love to get it out this year, but it's probably going to be early 2023.
Okay.
Well, and we're not sure what we're going to call it. We have a couple of working titles. We're thinking of calling it Rock and Roll Heaven, which is the title of one of the songs. And then now we're thinking of calling it The Buddha on the Lawn, which is the title of another song. And another song title is Heart of the Highway. So we're not quite sure what we're going to call it yet. But if you hear of any albums that are called that, if they're not by Spin Doctors, let us know, and we'll get our lawyers on it.
I was actually talking about your guitars. What are you using for? What are some of your songwriting, your main guitars?
I have a 1959 Gibson J200 that I've written a lot of stuff on recently. It's such a great sounding guitar. And my hero, Reverend Gary Davis, played one. I have a really old Gibson LG2 that was like the second guitar I ever bought with my own money. I bought it on like one of the first tours with the Spin Doctors in a garage in Rochester for like $150. And it's a real workhorse. I wrote Little Miss Can't Be Wrong on that guitar, and a million other songs. I got a 1946 Martin 0017. It's it's the mahogany Martin. I've written a bunch of stuff on that. I've been playing the snot out of that one. Oh, and I a couple of years ago, I was walking past Matt Umanoff, the old school guitar store in New York that was on Bleecker Street. And I was walking along with, like the boyfriend of my wife's friend, so I didn't really know him, but I knew he played guitar. And we were kind of drunk. It was like, 2:00 in the morning. And I was like, oh, it's Matt Humanoff. I gotta check this out, man. Look in the window here, because this place is cool. If you get a chance while you're here, you should come back here. We look in the window. Right in the middle is like a 20s Stella Decalomania. It's a guitar made in Jersey City in the 20s, made out of birch, and it had has like Gibson Girl kind of like floral, vegetal kind of beautiful decals on it, like this decoration. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I call Matt Humanoff. I'm standing outside of Matt Humanoff at 2:00 in the morning. I leave a message like, do not sell that Stella before I get in there tomorrow, as if somebody's going to come in. Like, it didn't have tuning pegs on it or anything. It was like all fucked up. And so like I get there the next day and Zeke is there, and I'm like, did you get my message last night? He was like, yeah, Chris, like nobody was like waiting at the door to buy the Stella this morning at 10 o'clock. Like, this derelict guitar, very cool, but derelict. So I took it to TR Crandall, who used to do all the repairs there, but now he's got his own place, and he's a brilliant luthier. And I told him, like, I don't actually have, I have the money to pay for this, but like not really like the disposable, right? Just like basically like take as long as you want. Best case scenario, like I forget that I even bought this guitar, and you call me one day, and like the guitar is ready. So I get a call right before my birthday this year, and it was like, Crandall, like, your guitar is ready. And I was like, fuck, how long have you guys had it? He's like, I don't know, So I got there and I looked at the tag on it, and it was like 2017.
Wow.
I had it for 5 years, but I've been playing the shit out of that. It's 100 years old. It sounds amazing.
Does it?
Yeah, it's fucking gorgeous. You want to see it?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
All right, I got it.
Oh yeah.
How cool is that?
That is nice.
Is that great?
Look at that.
Yeah. Something all that elaborate up here, but the Stella, thing is usually that's a decal, but that's like in the wood.
Oh, is it?
Cool. Yeah.
Listen to the tail of that. How it's the mount on that tail. Oh wow. That's not something to see every day, huh?
No, and everything's original except the tuning pegs. Yeah, I think he put old tuning pegs on, but they're not original to the guitar.
Self-tuning on it. Self-tuning on it for you.
Pretty badass. Wow,
you can go out there and panhandle now.
Yeah, like make a couple bucks.
Yeah, Crossy.
I play in the subway all the time, actually.
Yeah, that's a beautiful guitar, though. It really is.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
I have the best fucking guitars, man. I have a really, really cool guitar collection.
Very cool. Well, I never see a lot about you and guitars because usually you as a vocalist, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't even know that I play guitar, but I'm a pretty accomplished guitar player. I can play guitar.
Well, yeah, and I knew that, so I wanted. That was one of my things, I imagine at this point in actually, when you do things, you gotta be seeing like that. Now that you had the first beard, young guy with a beard for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, now they got all the hipsters doing it. And you're like, is there royalties on that?
I was the dude, man. No, I know. I like I say that, and my wife is like, "Shut up," and I'm like, "Babe, no, nobody had a fucking beard,
not like yours
before Chris Barron."
Your beard,
people. Like it was sort of like, it was more of like an old like beatnik thing, or like a really old hippie thing, but young people didn't have beards.
Yeah, your beard's getting crazy. Your beard was getting crazy at the end, though. I gotta tell you, that was almost too much for me at the end. It was well, the thing about the beard was I wasn't like growing a beard. It was just that I was on the road so much that I just never got my hair done. I grew my hair out long. That wasn't like I wasn't growing my hair,
I just never got to a barber, and my hair got really, really long. And like, you know, when old folks are like, you know, are like, "Ah, get a haircut," you know, and they're blaming your long hair on like not getting a haircut and like just being slovenly and like not getting your shit together. That's why my hair and my beard got so long. It was actually like, it was like the full, like, get off of my lawn, you long haired slob, you know, it was like that. That's actually why my hair got that long.
Pretty funny.
And you know the story about you know why the hat ended up in the video.
No, I don't.
That whole outfit, like we made the Two Princes video, and our budget was like, I think $55,000, and half of that money went into the shot at the end. You know, the shot at the end is a dolly shot. It's like at the end, there's like we're singing and the cameras are going around and around.
Right.
And so they had to rent the dolly and the track that the camera would go around on, and the little trolley thing that the camera sits on. And so they're setting up that shot. We've been shooting all day. It's December in New York City at Bethesda Fountain. And I've been outside all day. And I go into the hair and makeup truck, and I'm freezing. And the hair and makeup lady was like, "Oh, here, put on my sweater." And I was like, no. She's like, "No, I got my parka on. Like, it's cool. You just put on your sweater. Put on the sweater." So I put that long sweater on. And I had that hat. That hat was like a $6 Guatemalan, a Peruvian hat that I bought on the street. And I had my like wool gloves on, and like I'm just sitting there like trying to warm up. And they set up the shot, and Rich Murray comes over to the truck and is like, "All right, get in front of the camera. Like, we're, you know, starting to like pay overtime for the crew, and you know, it's like crunch time." And they got the shot set up, the expensive shot. And I get off the truck, the trailer, and I'm wearing like the hat and this sweater and these gloves. And he looks at me, he's like, "What the fuck are you wearing?" And I was like, "I'm cold." And he's like, "Just get in front of the fucking camera." And that's how
you look like a homeless person, all those different outfits on.
That's how that, I mean, you look at one of those hats and you think the 90s, like, and it was totally like just because I was cold, and then makeup.
But everybody wears hats now, even in the summertime, with their beards.
Absolutely.
But I'm giving you credit. Tell you what, someone else gives you credit for it too, because that's what I think of, you know.
I think I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was like the first guy, you know, in that era.
For me, I'll say you were probably one of the young guys for beard, and Ron Young from Little Caesar was the guy who did the goatee. You guys are the two guys. They should be getting royalties and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a hairstyle.
I know, so it's pretty funny though. You guys were the ones. It's a funny, silly note to talk about though.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the credit.
Yeah, you deserve it. It's pretty funny. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. I know.
My pleasure, Sean. Thank you for having me.
And a little odd questions, probably for you, a little different. You know,
no. Happy to answer any and all and sundry questions.
Well, I'm excited for a new album too, though. So I wasn't expecting.
Oh, cool, man! Yeah, keep your ear to the ground. I'm excited too. It came out really good. It's a really fun, entertaining, but heavy album.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you can do solo stuff too, right? In between.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Working on. I've got another solo record in the pipeline too.
Okay. Very cool.
Oh, and if I may, I also have a group with, it's me and these 3 Norwegian rock stars from the 90s, and we're called the Canoes. And we have one record out that's called Booze and Canoes. And we had a couple minor hits in Norway with it. And we put out a deluxe version of it recently, and sort of re-released it with a few extra tracks in the United States, because it never really got a release in the United States. And we got another record coming out next year called Magnetic North. So if people are interested in checking out another thing, it's for, me and 4 other guys who are all amazing singers. Each guy, they're from 3 different really big Norwegian bands from the 90s. And each one was like the lead singer and like principal songwriter of this band that they were in. So the songwriting is on a very high level, and it's tons of like 4-part harmony, and the musicianship's on a really high level. And
yeah,
well, thanks for having me, man.
Well, thanks for being on the show, man.
All right, take care now.
Take care. All right, so.